Hey guys, it's West here, back with another episode of the 2019 Beginner's Guide series. As you can see, we're fusing our ring right here. I wanted to start it off this way because this is going to set the tone for the rest of the episode. We did a lot. Let me quickly scroll down before I spoil too much with just the monster box, because I do want to yap for a little bit. We talked about in the last episode getting into a guild, how getting into a guild is going to help you grow faster, all the different rewards you're going to get. The big reward that I've been choosing over and over again over the Ifrit pieces has been the Super Angel Mon to help me make my 6-star monster process a lot faster. It lets me bring monsters to max level. You guys can see I'm at 852 guild points, so I'm almost to my next one, and you can see I already got one this month. I've been doing my guild siege all the time, so I have been collecting and trying to reap the rewards of being in a guild as much as possible. In addition to that, I have been getting some crystal rewards too, so everything has been pretty good there. But over the last week or so, I have made a lot of progress in making monsters. The monsters that I talked about last week were Hraesvelg and Hua, and we got them. So let me talk about what happened. So when the event started, I went ahead and I started immediately shooting for Hraesvelg because I knew that was the first upgrade I wanted for my team. He brings the attack buff that Shannon brings, as well as a speed buff, and his uptime on the attack buff is really high. He's also bringing AoE damage, brand on his second skill, and continuous damage effects on his first skill. So what I went ahead and thought was, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start summoning these wind monsters looking for Hraesvelg because he's going to be the first upgrade. After 4 summons, so about 4 days into the event, I summoned a Hraesvelg from a mystical scroll, which was awesome. So that day, instead of getting another wind summon, I went for a single fire summon and got Hua. Extremely lucky. I couldn't have counted on this happening, but it did, which is great, because it allowed me to have these monsters. I had plenty of food in storage. Like I said, I might have mentioned it in the last video. I had enough food for 3 6-stars, about 3, maybe 4 6-stars. I used 2 sets of that food, so 10 5-star Rainbow Mons. Rainbow Mons I had been collecting as rewards from different stages of TOA, as well as from the Guild Magic Shop and challenges. Used those to 6-star Hua and Hraesvelg right away after popping a double XP booster, so I immediately got them to 6-star. I'm now currently getting 6-star rewards from my first Fire 6-star evolution, so I've been getting rewards from Hua. I changed around runes on my Magic Knight. As I talked about last week, she was on a speed crit damage attack build, so her damage wasn't great. She's now a lot closer to the damage amount that I wanted. She's still like 200 or 300 attack under what I ideally want. I know that's a really high expectation, but I try to hold high standards. And you can see this is with 5-star runes, so her slot 2 is amazing, and her slot that's about it. Her slot 2 is pretty good. Other than that, her runes are pretty obtainable. Her crit damage isn't great, her crit rate's not amazing, and her speed definitely isn't there. So she's doing okay there. Sig hasn't changed. Hua is on a speed crit damage attack build. She's very slow for Swift Blade. For Swift Blade, I expect her to be more toward 100 speed, so you can actually see her substats aren't great. She got a set of Swift runes after I runed up Hraesvelg, who got my first set of Swift Blade runes, which is an attack crit damage HP set. I made him pretty tanky because I want him to survive. Him getting more turns, because he turn cycles really quickly. What I mean by that is he gets a lot of turns with his 50% attack bar gain here, his speed buff, and the speed he gains while his third skill is down. So I wanted to take advantage of all the turn he gets by giving him more HP, so he could survive for longer and continue to put out those dots and the brand and can keep the attack and speed buff up. In addition to that, I wanted the HP so he would recover more HP when his third skill is down, because that's based on his max HP, so he's going to get more recovery off of that, which means he's going to survive even better as a result of having more HP. In addition to that, I gave him such a good priority over Hua because I wanted to make sure he had the accuracy to consistently land his brand and consistently land his dots. You could see we actually started skilling him up with Devilmon. Obviously, we're only using farmable units on this account, so Devilmon will be used on farmable units. Even if you were on a pay-to-play account, for example, using Devilmon for a unit who's a Nat 4 who you can't obtain really quickly or through fusion is not a terrible decision to make. So I was lucky all the skill ups have gone into his second and third skill so far. I'm missing one skill up for each in order to max skill them. That's when his turn cycling and uptime on his attack buff and brand become really insane, because 3-turn attack buff and speed buff that lasts 2 turns with a speed increase while it's down. I mean, it's crazy. Plus the 50% attack he's getting back, 50% of his attack bar back from his second skill. This guy will get a crazy ton of turns. Skill ups on his first skill are nice just for the extra harmful effect, right? But after he's skilled up his second and third skill, I'm not going to worry too much about getting that. Hua doesn't need a crazy amount of skill ups. It does reduce this cooldown on her second skill and gives her harmful effect rate for her attack speed. That's not super relevant at this point. She does great because all of her kit is pretty much built into her passive, or at least for what I need her for, into her passive and built into her AI, because for the most part she's going to be focusing down those crystals, because as I said before, she's a fire unit, so she's not going to attack the water golems unless they're at low HP, have a brand or defense break, and the crystals do not. So there has to be a very specific situation. And because I have Hraesvelg in the team, she's going to be doing increased damage, and her damage is based on speed, so she's going to be doing even more damage. So I'll just jump right into the team I'm using them in. I'm really excited. We'll talk about the other 2 monsters that I actually fused in the last week, and we'll talk about them in a minute and where they're going to be used. So here's the most ideal situation. You can see Hua actually procced her passive and got an additional hit and killed that crystal. I know it might have been pretty quick. I'm currently working on the speed tuning still. It's not exactly the way I want it to. Actually, it is. I take that back. This is exactly the turn order I want. So if you're building this team for yourself and you're following along with the series, and maybe your runes are different, one of the most important things, and I know some of the later game players and some higher level players have said before that speed tuning is not as important. I feel at all points in the game, speed tuning can be used to increase the efficiency, increase the success rate of your teams, and it's just a nice concept to get down early so that you have it for when you're progressing later. The speed tuning for this team goes Belladie first, then Hraesvelg, then Sigmaris, then Hua, then the Water Magic Knight. The reason for this speed tuning is because the first person you always want to go is going to be your defense breaker. Because Hraesvelg does damage with his third skill, you know, if there's no defense break, you're not going to do as much damage. And even if Hraesvelg doesn't have his third skill up to give the attack buff to the rest of his team, he could still land a brand with his second skill. So landing that on a defense broken target increases the damage even more. You can see this is a 125 run, so it's pretty nice. That's where it is on average too. So I'm really excited about this team. In addition to that, you know, any damage he's going to do will be increased by the fact that he has that defense break. And I like Sigmaris going third because Sigmaris has the nice AoE. A lot of times Sigmaris' AoE on crit will kill both crystals. And by doing that, you're reducing the amount of attacks that are needed. Now, Hua is kind of like a fail-safe. So in case the crystals don't get killed, their attack bar is going to get reduced at the very least, or Hua is going to clean them up with her attack, because like I said before, she will prioritize the crystals or a defense broken target if there's no crystals there. And even though she's fire against water, the glancing chance I believe is only 15% chance of glancing. But even if it was higher, I mean, she's still gonna attack bar reduce, and she attack bar reduces the giant pretty consistently as long as you have accuracy, even though she's a fire unit. In addition to that, she has dots on her second skill, so she could land damage over time effects. Yeah, I also have dots on Hraesvelg's first skill, so we kind of have backup methods of dealing damage. This means that if some of our damage dealers die, which they inevitably will, because as you build a speed team, you're going to learn very quickly that your damage dealers obviously aren't going to be as durable as the support units you were using, so they're more likely to die. You can see the giant doesn't even get a turn. I keep cutting myself off, but I'm so happy with this team so far. But you know, you have backup methods of dealing damage, so having those continuous damage effects means that even if some of our damage dealers die, we still have a way to kill the giant, which is just the continuous damage effects. And the dot on Hua is a 3-turn dot. 1 dot for 3 turns, and the dot damage on Hraesvelg is 2 dots for 1 turn. So, you know, Hraesvelg's more upfront damage and Hwa's more long-lasting over time damage. And between those two, I mean, it's kind of nice to have a mix of both. You know, depending on what your team needs, there's 2 forms of damage effects, either more straight face damage with Hraesvelg or damage in case your team dies with Hwa. So there's a lot of fail-safes in this team. We still have an attack break from Sigmaris. We have 2 forms of major attack bar reduction between either Lapis's first or third skill, and then any attack Hwa does, she will reduce the attack bar as long as it meets the accuracy resistance check. And of course, Hwa does not have enough accuracy yet, but she still lands it pretty consistently. In addition to that, even though her attack stat isn't very high and her crit damage could be higher as well, her damage output is crazy with Hraesvelg's attack and speed buff, as well as having a brand on the boss. Everything about this team, it just does great damage. And currently, it is speed tuned the exact way that I would like it to be in terms of turn order. Now we can start talking about Lupinus and Orang. I just wanted a few runs to go through so you guys can get an idea. See, it's really nice to have Hraesvelg tanky there. He wouldn't have lived otherwise, and you're going to see now he gets another attack and does another 15k damage, which he wouldn't have done before if he didn't have that extra HP. So you can see it's pretty reliably, like I would say on average it's about 130 per run. It's better than our about 2-minute runs on average. So I'm super psyched about the team. We started the video by fusing Orang, and we're going to talk about her now. She does some of the craziest single target damage in the game in terms of a farmable monster in dungeons. So she does bonus damage if the enemy's under a harmful effect. She gives us an extra defense break if we need it. It's kind of nice as a backup. She's got an attack and attack speed break as well with that third skill. And 50% increased damage if they're under harmful effect rate. I mean, that's a lot of damage. That's a huge amount of damage. And the multiplier is great, and her base stats at 6-star. I mean, she has really, really high attack just like Sig. She's got a self-heal on skill 2 that turns into a shield if it exceeds her maximum health. She's got a glancing triple hit on skill 1. After she's awakened, it turns into it has a glancing hit debuff she can put on the enemy. So she brings a lot to the table in terms of both skills and just raw damage. And the biggest thing about her for our teams are going to be the fact that she has this 40% attack power lead. This is huge because when you use her with wind attackers like Hraesvelg, if we happen to use Lupinus in the end, whatever wind attackers you bring her with, 40% additional attack. It's 40% of their base attack in addition to whatever the stats they have. I mean, that's going to add up. So it's going to be about 260, 270 attack on like Hraesvelg, for example, which might not sound like a lot, but it really adds up after you crit, when you have other bonuses at play. And it further increases her attack even more, which is nice because she's getting another 300-something attack from the leadership skill as well. And her high multipliers, like I said, really add up in the end. And this third skill will just hit massive numbers. When you have Brand and you have defense break on the boss and you have your attack buff from Hraesvelg, this skill can hit all the way up to, I've seen 45,000 on my account, and my account has a speed crit damage attack Orang with only about 1,600 total attack. Now the way we're going to be building Orang on this account when we have her built up for Giants is she is going to be the 4th monster attacking, is the turn order I would like it to be, and that means that we can afford to put a lot more attack on her, a lot more crit damage, and focus a lot less on speed. So we're going to be giving her a little bit of accuracy just in case, to have backup defense break, backup attack break to buy us some time. And then we're just going to focus everything into her hitting as hard as possible and give her the minimum speed, give her plus 30, plus 40 speed. And she's just going to hit like an absolute monster. So I'm pretty excited to have her for the team. Lupinus is another monster that I fused. I don't know if I'm going to be using her in Giants just yet, just because we have Sigmaris right now, and Sigmaris is runed up pretty well. I stated this before. I'm actually not super happy with the way Sig is built. In terms of general rune quality, these are really, really nice runes. I'm not complaining about the runes. But for Sigmaris, what I care a lot more about is raw damage. And although the AoE is really nice for now, I don't have enough attack on Sigmar's for the AoE to be even more useful than it could be, because with attack buff, Sigmar's could theoretically one-hit most of the waves with Hraesvelg's attack buff. So if I had about 500 or 600 more attack, it'd be a little bit better for Sig. And I could even make Sig go toward the end where Lupinus would go for the AoE, or for that third skill in order to do more max HP based damage. But the more I use Sig, the more I like Sig as an attack based nuker, you know, and having the HP based damage or max HP based damage on the boss as kind of a bonus. So I don't know. I kind of like him where he's at in terms of speed, but not as much in terms of attack. So he's probably not going to get touched anytime soon, just because his runes are just great, and I don't want to really mess around with my Giants B10 team. But that's just my thought process with Lupinus. At the very least, Lupinus is going to be used in TOA, because AoE, attack bar reduction, and max HP based damage on that third skill is great. I still use Lupinus on my main account in TOA and TOA hard, mostly TOA hard, for when you're taking down the different, you know, TOA hard 100 boss. Really, really good damage, and the attack bar reduction is just essential. Silence is pretty nice. So I don't know. I wanted to have Lupinus fused up, though, because I do plan on using her in the future somewhere. If not in Giants, then in TOA. But Orang is definitely going to get 6-star next in terms of damage dealers. There's not another damage dealer I've been really thinking about, so she's probably getting 6-star next. I pulled a Chilling recently, who I was surprised, actually. I didn't realize Chilling is also in the Guild Magic Shop. So technically another farmable unit that falls in the same category as Hua, as Aegir, as Hraesvelg, all those other net 4s that are there. You know, technically a farmable unit. This is going to be really fun for dragons and even Necro, and 100% in PvP, because I do look forward to getting into RTA on this account and showing you guys some RTA comps with completely farmable teams. And, you know, this is one of those guys who, he was in the meta really hard last season or 2 seasons ago, and he's slowly fallen off for some other units, but I think we could put him to some good use, especially if we put him with the right monsters. So that's about it for this video. I'm going to be staying in Giants just for a long time, or until I'm really happy with the runes that I have. Our next step is actually not going to be Dragons or Necro. Our next step on this account is going to be Raid. So what I'm going to be preparing for as I farm through Giants is most likely going to be building other units for Raid, locking down which cleanser we're going to choose, and making sure all of our runes are spot on, the points that I want them to be on. So if you guys have any questions or comments about the new team, about the units, about how you can incorporate them in other places besides just Giants, of course leave those in the comments below. I'm always happy to answer your questions to the best of my ability. But that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Hey guys, it's West again. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more.